electric can as a precautionary measure to cope with possible radioactive
Good afternoon. Today you are listening live to Liquid Lunch, and today is October 31st, 2011. We have a very interesting show for you today. First, we're starting off with Edward de Vere, the real Shakespeare. He's appeared today from the 16th century, and I'm helping him through the 21st century, teaching him how it is here.
Thank you. I want to thank Puck, my guide, because she conveyed me through the time portal today, and I'm just getting used to the technology. I understand this is called a computer, and this strange porcelain mug doesn't look anything like our steins from the 16th century, but I'm getting used to this fine world that I'm encountering. So thank you, Puck.
Yes. And then we'll be interviewing Mr. Hugh Riley, founder of some obscure organization that he'll tell us more about. He's busy changing the world, making a better place to live in. Then we have Jacob, who's masterminding or making a huge contribution to Occupy Toronto down at I think it's Adelaide and Jarvis. Amazing place. He'll tell us all about it. And then none other than Caine will be here, and he was speaking at the 2012 Wisdom Conference. So all that and more. So we'll speak with Mr. Hugh Riley. Mr. Hugh Riley, how are you today?
Hi, it's great to be on your show.
As I said, a strange organization.
I am from your present.
Nice to be in your presence.
Well, thank you. What's your name again? Edward
de Vere.
Thank you, Edward. It's fantastic to have you hosting me on your show.
It's rather a reversal. I would say an ironic reversal, actually.
Yes.
It is ironic.
Yes.
So what happened to you guys today? You came in on the time portal. Somehow Puck opened up the time portal. Is that what happened?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I was in a tavern, and I was enjoying the revels with my compatriots, and lo and behold, Puck materialized when I did a conjuring spell and kindly conveyed me to the 21st century. Apparently the 21st century.
Yes, it is the 21st century. But it seems a lot like the 20th century.
It does, doesn't it?
Especially with that drilling and noise in the
drilling,
background.
the incessant building that's going
Yes.
on. Because today also, I don't know if you know this, Edward, but today we hit 7 billion.
Oh my
7
goodness.
billion people on the planet.
On the planet.
So we have to keep building skyscrapers.
I trust all those are listeners as well. 7 billion.
And counting.
Yeah. Possibilities are endless. 7 billion, will be 7 billion and one, etc.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's adding up.
Yeah. So I have a question for everyone. Maybe in your 16th century, does everybody go to Halloween parties? Did you see some amazing costumes? And what was it like in the 16th century?
As far as Halloween revels in the 16th century, I can only say that, what can I say, I was in costume, and we had the opportunity of being on stage in a variety of costumes, and all the world is a stage, as you well know.
Yes, it is.
It sure is. Hey,
It was kind of scary out there, actually.
is it?
Well, all
Did-
this.
Did you see the zombie walk?
I saw some zombies, yeah.
See, I didn't even know about the zombie walk until last year, and then I was up on Bloor Street. Last year, if you remember, Halloween was raining all day. It was a very rainy day. And so I was up on Bloor Street hanging out, and all these zombies were walking by, and I thought, wow.
Now I know what I look like.
Now I know what this... I'll pretend I didn't hear that, Puck.
Well, you're a little bit pale. You need to be paler.
Yeah.
You got to get the arms straight, too.
Why?
The zombies walk like this, and they kind of walk like this. So you have to practice that.
Okay, I'll practice that. Okay. Do you guys want to take a break now?
Sure.
Start the real show?
Sounds great.
All right. What do we have for music? Do we have anything? Do we have some videos? No, actually, Tim, you sent a couple of videos. Now, do you want to watch one of those
Sure.
before we start?
Yeah, do you want to watch the one where we do the portrait painting comparison between Edward de Vere and the guy we know as William Shakespeare?
No, I don't know which
That
one
would
that
be
is. You
awesome.
sent those two videos. One of them was the radiation map. Is it the one before that? Were those two links together?
No, there was one film video, remember? So that one was called Shakespeare
I don't know.
or something.
I don't know what we got. Okay, of those two links, play the first link in the email there, Aaron, if you could. No. It was in the email.
Shakespeare.
It was no
Shakespeare, you can
Shakespeare.
find it,
Is that what you wanted to watch
that
first?
one.
That would be awesome.
All right, how long is it, Tim?
It's short. Like
I mean,
not even
Edward.
2 minutes shorter.
All right, let's do that, and then we're going to come back and speak to Tim Spearman from the future. Can you turn it up? Oh, we can. You got to turn the volume up.
I need to break out. The sun is getting old. I need to forget about the portraits we were sold, echoing blackouts, waking on the floor with the chaos of downtown, marching at your door. We're sorry for the things we do, running through a crowded room. Sorry for the things we do, yeah. So kill the bright lights, everybody run. This time is ours and we've only begun. The things we do, they say will bury us young. One last chance is better than none. So kill the bright lights, everybody run. This time is ours and we've only begun. The things we do, they say will bury us young. One last chance is better than none.
Welcome back to Liquid Lunch. It's me, Hugh, and Puck is here. And Puck, what do you got in mind here?
Well, we're looking for Tim. Wasn't Tim supposed to be here?
Tim Spearman, yes.
Yeah, let's
All
see
the
if
world
we can
is
find
staged.
him. Let's see if we can find him.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Puck.
There we are.
Aha.
I slipped behind
Interesting.
the stage curtain, and here I am.
Well, you're from the future, I understand. So it's not surprising that you'd be undercover.
Yes, well, I just hope I have a future after this show.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they say. There's no bad advertising. I'll bet they'll be your phone will be ringing off the hook.
Well,
He doesn't have a phone. He's from the past.
Well, no, I'm getting
he's-
acquainted. I have a cell phone, but because Puck showed me how to work it. Thank you, Puck.
Now, Edward. You're Edward.
Well, I am.
Okay. Who's the real Shakespeare? Edward? Is it Will? Or
By
is it you?
a name, I cannot tell thee who I am because we started the show as Edward, then you called me Timothy, and now we're back to Edward again. I'm
Oh.
getting rather confused.
Well,
Edward has
welcome to
gone.
the club.
Edward has gone back through the portal now, but Timothy is here.
Who
And
are you?
The reincarnation, or shall I say the re-embodiment of Edward de Vere, the Earl of Oxford. So, Timothy Spearman is the name.
Okay. All right. Well, great to have you here, Edward. I mean, Timothy. Hey, so and where do you want to start? I know we've got a lot to talk about today, don't we? And in fact, can we pull that? I'm just wondering if we can
Sure.
pull that radiation map up as
Sure,
the
sure, sure.
background, because I think that would be cool. So we're going to try to do that. But no, you're here. You're not here just because it's Halloween and you're all dressed up. By the way, I love the costume. I want one.
Thank you. Yes, I'm rather enamored with it myself. Yeah, no, I was going to talk about a few things today with you, Hugh, and Puck. So
Call me
we're going to
Fairy.
look at a radiation map in a minute because I think that is of concern to your 21st century world. I think we should really talk about this issue of the Japanese nuclear power plant disaster a little bit.
Yeah, well, we're working to pull that up in the background. So, what?
Can you tell us a little bit
What?
more about it, Tim?
Well, as I understand it, there is probably now something in the nature of 200,000 Hiroshima, exploded detonations in terms of how much radiation has been released into the environment. And I bring it up as part of today's show because it's of great concern to me. I know that in August they announced that it was equivalent to 168 Hiroshimas in terms of how much radiation has been released. And people speak about iodide radiation and how it has reached North America, and they're trying to convince us that with this 3 to 7 day half-life that it's supposed to have, that it's rather inert and that it's harmless. But I think what people have to realize is that half-life means that it will go to half of its potency at the time in which it's released initially. And so half-life doesn't mean that the radiation's gone away. It means it's half its potency. And then 3 days or 7 days later, it will go to half of that. But what we're talking about is at least a year before that particular release of radiation would become inert and harmless, right? That's how long it takes for the isotope level to reach an innocuous, harmless level. And when you consider that each time it's being replaced by a new batch of radiation, because this thing's still spewing out radiation like a fire hose, right? So it's still being released into the atmosphere. So what was originally sent over the Pacific Ocean is being replaced by a new batch that's coming over. And that's just our area. What about the area in the immediate ground zero zone, right?
Yeah.
What about Japan itself, right? I mean, they talked about how they've banned beef cattle because it's irradiated. Well, if the beef cattle are irradiated, guess what? Obviously, human beings are irradiated.
Yeah. Well, there are people who say that we can actually do something about that. We can somehow protect ourselves. So what do you have to say?
I do believe that there is some process underway on the planet that our DNA is changing, and they've done studies at UCLA, and they've found that 20 strands of our so-called junk DNA have been turned on. And what this is doing, apparently, is it's making people immune to disease. Now, I do believe also that if our telomere caps are being repaired in our DNA, and our DNA is actually being enhanced by these changes that are said to be taking place because of our exposure to photon belt radiation, as some in the New Age movement are claiming, then it's possible that many of us are becoming immune to the effects of such things as radiation, and I can only hope that that's the case.
That's interesting. So that's that's fascinating stuff. I mean, we when you talk about the radiation, I mean, there was that email going around by the Hathors. Do you remember the Hathors?
I know them intimately.
The Hathors were saying that you could turn water with your mental energy into a healing
Bomb or something?
well,
like
just
that?
a healing.
Ointment or
Just
Yeah.
you drink it and you get healed, because
Wow.
water is, we know what, the stuff Dr. Emoto's been saying, you put intention into water. Why, there are even stories out there of sailors who were adrift at sea, and just through their wishing, maybe they're praying, they were dying of thirst, of course, but then at one point one of them dipped his hand over the edge of the boat and scooped up a handful of water, and it was fresh.
Yeah.
And so this is the kind of thing that can happen, apparently,
Yeah.
with water.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that.
And the natives in North America here have always believed that water is the best medicine for almost everything, right? So
for sure.
maybe the water can do that. Whether or not it's the Hathors involved.
Yeah. Well,
But But what?
Well, we did do that little test on the water. I put positive intention in the water, right?
We did a little test, yeah.
We did a little test, and it was with Jason Quit, and you put these drops in the water, and what it's supposed to do is basically separate the gunk from the good stuff in the water. And normally it takes 6 hours to make that separation. After I put the positive energy in the water, it's separated within like a few minutes. And it's also interesting the way it's separated, because we did a test. We also put some tap water and set it aside. And the difference was that in the water that had positive energy, it was together. Like it was like little balls in the cup. Whereas in the other water, it was paler, which means it wasn't as effective. And it was kind of all over the place. So I just thought that was rather interesting. So like putting positive energy will actually make it easier. It's like starting the process of separating the gunk, from what's really good for you.
Well, mantras and yoga meditation and the vibrational frequencies that those create, and does that have an effect on your health? I'm sure it does. And does it raise your vibration so that the effects of certain diseases don't affect us? I'm sure that's the case.
Yeah.
Okay, Tim, now we're here to talk about a couple things specifically. One, of course, is the radiation, right? And more than that, do you want to tell us one of the reasons why you're so concerned about the radiation?
Yeah, my daughter is in South Korea, and what concerns me is the effect of the Earth's magnetic field and how that behaves in relation to radiation. And I know that the more potent proton-based radiation heads towards the west, whereas the less potent, no less, serious in a sense. I mean, you can't ignore its poisonous nature, but it's somewhat less serious than the alkaline-based cesium-137 radiation, which is proton-based radiation, which actually heads towards the east because of the behavior of the Earth's magnetic field. So what that means is that Japan, Korea, and China, and perhaps other parts of Asia, are being irradiated with the more potent cesium-137 radiation, which has a 30.4-year half-life and is far more dangerous in terms of radioactivity than iodide radiation, which has purportedly made it across the Pacific Ocean to where we are. Not that it's not of concern too, but it's less dangerous. So that concerns me. And so I'm trying to get my daughter out of South Korea. The problem is that South Korea doesn't observe the Hague Treaty, which is an international treaty for dealing with such things as custody arrangements. And under international law, I do believe that her mother has violated provisions that would classify what she has done as kidnapping and, according to UN law, international law, child abuse, because she has reversed a custody order which she signed, in which I hold custody 10 months of the year, and she should only have the child for 2 months. And out of the generosity of my heart, she asked if she could spend a year with her, and I said yes, I agreed to those terms. But now she has deceitfully changed the whole program, and I'm very angry because I functioned in good faith and tried to show goodwill, and I've not really been rewarded for that. And what's really concerning me, though, is the poisonous nature of the radiation and the fact that my daughter is in a very dangerous radiation zone as well as a war zone, because North Korea has canceled the armistice agreement with South Korea, which means that they're in an active state of war.
So when did that happen?
It happened during the summer, and because of that, I'm extremely worried, because the armistice agreement is only a ceasefire, and when you cancel the ceasefire, that means you're in an active state of war. So effectively, North Korea could attack at any time. And because of the whole situation in North Korea. I don't believe that the regime is actually thinking rationally. And I do believe that this regime is on a suicide course, and there seems to be some kind of psychopathology going on here with the leadership in North Korea. They don't seem to be functioning according to what I would call a rational mindset.
Yeah, Timothy, what is it that people are watching? What can they do to help?
Well, I mean, I would suggest that they should make more of an effort to have our government disclose the truth about the radiation. I mean, I'm personalizing it because I have a loved one in the area that I want to bring home. But Canadians should be evacuated from Japan and South Korea, and they should be sent home because they're being exposed to poisonous levels of radiation from which they will not recover. And you're going to see the evidence for this in the coming weeks or months, because they're going to develop illnesses like thyroid complications in the beginning, and then perhaps more serious illnesses down the road. And people are in psychological denial. Our governments are in psychological denial. There's no disclosure, and it's all based on business, because there's these free trade agreements that have been signed with South Korea, and obviously there's the business interests of Japan and perhaps China as well. And when you think about the fact that products are going to be exported internationally that have been irradiated, what business contracts? And hadn't you better rethink about those business contracts? Because what we're talking about is the wholesale poisoning of the world's population by what? Business interests?
Yeah, I think, like, as an energy worker, I'm very conscious of what the way we speak and the words we use. So I'm going to set the intention that the people who are in Korea and Japan, they're going to be in perfect health, and we can, ask other people who are spiritual and who meditate to also send some healing energy their way so that doesn't happen. And let's appeal to the conscience of business that they do the right thing for the people.
Well, I think it's the governments of our respective countries that have to do more to disclose the facts. And obviously they're not motivated at the present time by a will to protect the people that they have been elected to serve. They are being very self-serving, and the business community is also being very self-serving. Look, I mean, if the Toronto Star published the fact that the Atomic Energy Agency of Japan announced that the nuclear power plant disaster back in August of 2011 was equivalent to 168 Hiroshimas, but they announced that on page 12 of the front section of the Toronto Star when it should be front page news. Obviously, they're not engaged in disclosure. If they were engaged in disclosure, they would be alerting the public to the nature of the emergency. They're not. They're hiding it. And they're abiding by their journalistic code, which requires that they do share the information, but they're sharing it on a sidebar column article on page 12 of the Toronto Star's front section. That's unconscionable.
Okay, so now we know that it's page 12 of the Toronto Star.
From August.
From August. Okay.
August.
What date was that?
August 12th. I have the article, so I can gladly share it with you.
So yeah, we could probably post that. We could
In
post
fact,
that
I
on
sent it
Facebook
to you,
and
so
social
yeah.
media. To let
Okay,
people
so
know.
the radiation is it's an issue. Maybe we're trying to be optimistic. Maybe there's some.
Not maybe.
Well, wait a sec. Now you mentioned the DNA thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, because but that's what these people are saying, that we're going to go from, what are we now, 2-strand DNA to what, 12-strand?
12-strand DNA.
And it might happen with the photon belt radiation that's coming in on December 21st, 2012, right?
Yeah.
So, but you cited a study done in California that what has happened with the DNA? It's been activated.
A few years ago, UCLA undertook a study where they looked at DNA, and they found that because of their studies, statistically, they determined that at least 1 million people worldwide had 20 strands of their so-called junk DNA switched on. And what they found was that when they took dangerous pathogens and actually put it in a petri dish with their blood samples, that what it showed was that their blood showed an immunity to these different pathogens, including HIV/AIDS. So what that indicates is that DNA is in a process of change which would make us immune to disease as we know it. Now, I want to share with you a little story related to ancient history, and I believe that what happened when the encampment occurred after the crossing of the Red Sea, when Moses, as we're told in the Bible, came down from the mountain and instructed the Israelites to melt down the golden calf and then to drink of the waters. I believe that that was, in essence, an alchemical formula that was being dispensed among the people, and it repaired their telomere caps.
Well, that's what I heard. No, I heard that when they burned the calf, the golden calf, they made the monoatomic gold, which is what the Israelites ate.
That's what I'm implying, yeah. So that it repaired their telomere caps, and because of that, they became immune to a lot of the effects of aging and disease, and it really enhanced their DNA, and so that caste became the Kohanim, which is the priest caste, and they were considered to be the anointed ones, and they were the only ones that were allowed to approach the Ark of the Covenant. They were the only ones that were anointed and had received the divine anointing, which made them worthy, as it were, of approaching the tabernacle. Now, the reason I believe that's the case is because the repair that had taken place in their DNA made them immune to the effects of radiation. And so now we come back to the point that we're discussing with our modern situation with the nuclear power plant disaster. If indeed these DNA changes are taking place in our DNA as a collective race, the human race across the planet, then maybe the effects of the radiation will not be felt to the degree they otherwise might.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's fascinating. And there's also, I believe there's other changes happening. More than a couple of people have mentioned to me, and I felt this also, that within the last 2 weeks or so, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, people they feel more intuitive. I feel that way too, that my intuition is increasing and I'm making better decisions, and things are just working better.
I'm glad you are.
Boy, it's at times like this I wish I had DNA.
Well, maybe we can manufacture it and inject it.
Okay, Tim?
Yeah.
Now, we had some other, unfortunately we can't show that radiation map.
Okay.
We had some technical issue. But
No
what was that other, there was another, what was it, film?
Yeah, there's a couple of clips there. One is a short film that shows a portrait painting between Edward de Vere, the Earl of Oxford, and William Shakespeare. Now, one painting is by Marcus Gerat, and that was the painting of Edward de Vere. And the other painting is by John Taylor, and it's a painting of the same man, but under a different name, his pen name, William Shakespeare, because he was named after the patron goddess of Greek drama, Pallas Athena, the spear shaker. And the reason she was called the spear shaker is because she shook her spear at the twin serpents of ignorance and vice, which really that's what drama does, because by enlightening the masses through drama, you chase away the serpents of ignorance and vice. And he also wore the helmet of Pallas Athena, the helmet of invisibility, and belonged to an order called the Honorable Order of the Knights of the Helmet, which was the secret writing ministry of the Elizabethan court. You could say it was the propaganda ministry of the court. And so all of the members wrote anonymously or under pen names, and Francis Bacon and Edward de Vere, the Earl of Oxford, were the co-founders of that illustrious organization. And they had 70 researchers called the Team of Good Pens that were recruited from Cambridge and Oxford University to write poetry and works of literature that would influence the view of England at the time and would cast aspersions upon the foreign courts by lampooning them and making fun of them through the comedies while exalting the English nation through the history plays and the great tragedies of Shakespeare, Marlowe, and Ben Jonson and other illustrious playwrights of the time. And so there's a common style, and that's because Edward de Vere, the great poetic genius, was in charge as the great impresario and was actually guiding them as the master, and sometimes writing plays and half finishing them and then leaving it to one of his cohorts to do the rest, to finish the plays.
Okay, so Tim, now we've got this video. This is the one you emailed me, so it's in the. I think we've got it in the TriCaster.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a link.
Okay.
But is there anything else we need to cover? Because we're running out of time here.
No, thank you
guy.
for having me on, actually. And if you want to show the film later in the day of the John F. Kennedy and Princess Diana assassinations, that's a good one for you, just for your own
what about it?
entertainment purposes.
Are they related somehow?
Yes, the film kind of alludes to that, and so we did a film, Robert Badali and I, that shows the link between the two assassinations. The killing of the king and the killing of the princess. That's the theme of the film.
Wow.
And what is the name of the film?
It's actually the killing of the king and the killing of the princess. That's really
That's
what
the
it
name?
is.
Oh, okay. I thought you said it was anonymous.
No, that's the film that has just been released on October 28th, which promotes the view that Edward de Vere, the Earl of Oxford, is the real Shakespeare.
Do you subscribe to that view?
I think I do.
Okay, so you say go see the film. Have you seen it yet?
I have seen segments of it, snippets of it, but I have yet to see the full film. But let's just say the story is all too familiar to me anyway, because I've been researching the subject for at least 10 years.
Fabulous. Okay, so we've got this film clip we're going to see now, and Tim, thanks for coming with us.
Thank you, Hugh.
And also, well, let's give out your contact info. You've got a book and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. I've got a book coming out called All the World's Staged and You and I Are Merely Played. So xoxopublishing.com is the website for my publisher. 2 of my books are already available for sale as ebooks. They're coming out in print towards Christmas time, and I'll be coming down to the world's biggest bookstore in Chapters to do a book signing for all 3 books. And I have my friend Robert Badali coming down from Ottawa to film the book signing. And so things are looking up in general, I have to say.
And your website, your personal website?
Shakespeare.com.
Fantastic. Shakespeare.com. Tim, thanks for coming in. Always a pleasure.
It was a pleasure spearing with you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's watch this. We're going to come back with Jacob Kearey-Moreland right after this, talking about the Occupy Toronto movement that's happening right now. We'll be right back here. LiquidLunch.channel.com.
The pentacle. A star having 5 points represents the star Sirius to the illuminized Masonic Brotherhood. A plot known to insiders as the killing of the king, also arranged for the killing of the princess. A plot known to Masons as the killing of the king, also arranged for the killing of the princess. Lighted by flames, surrounded by pentacle, marked by torch, symbolizing illumination of the Sirius star, Dealey Plaza and Pont de la Mort.
I don't know how to tell you this.
This tentacle star having
And we're back on Liquid Lunch here. Who's that music, Aaron? I know. I should know. Who is it? Who? Menage. Oh, that's Menage we're playing. They were here on Friday. It's part of the show. And we're here now with Jacob Kearey-Moreland, who's part of the Occupy Toronto. And Jacob, great to have you on the show.
Thanks.
And we were... hey, guys. Shh. We're doing a show here. Hello, Tim. We're doing a show live
It's
on the air.
Halloween.
Nobody else could say. Okay, so we got here Jacob and Jacob. So what's going on with this Occupy Toronto? You're down there. Yeah, I know you ran into Vanessa at the food
Yeah,
tent.
it
But
was really awesome down there.
So, I've been participating with the Occupy Toronto movement, like thousands of other people. I go down there to meet other like-minded people and start discussing what's happening in the world, different problems, and to finally start participating in decisions that affect us.
us meaning
Myself, you, other people, my family, my community.
normal people.
Normal people.
People who don't work in the banking industry.
Yes.
People that don't get
Yeah.
huge tax dollar bonuses so that they can keep their bonuses going, even though they're losing money.
Yeah.
Right? Now, so how did you get involved in the Occupy Toronto movement?
So I've been, for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been actively involved with various global social movements. I study social network analysis and sociology at U of T, so I'm really interested in different organizations and movements, and so I've been actively observing and participating and watching these global movements develop and grow. And so I've been tapped into these different movements, and I heard about Occupy Wall Street in August through both the online group Anonymous, who sent out a release to all of their members, and then also through the Zeitgeist movement, who were promoting it as well. And so when it came time to, when I heard that they were occupying Wall Street and it was happening, and more people started showing up, and then I saw Occupy Boston and Philadelphia and Chicago, and then something that occurred to me was Occupy Toronto. And so I went online, I posted to one of the groups, and then somebody had already created an Occupy Toronto page. And I clicked like, and I was the 70th person, and then within a day there were 700 people. And then there was 7,000 people, and now there's
7 billion people
now
on
it's-
the planet.
right.
Today is the day.
Everybody's connected.
yeah.
Okay. Now, Jacob. Okay. So now, so you're a student at U of T.
Yeah.
And what's the actual course you're taking?
So I'm doing a double major in sociology and philosophy.
Okay.
And so one of my classes right now is political sociology.
How appropriate.
And so we study the power and authority in society. And so it's quite different from political science, in which we see power is diffused all throughout society in different institutions, not just within our government, but within our economy and within our educational systems and religious systems. And
All right. And you said you also mentioned you're studying how these global movements form.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. And now we've got this Occupy movement. It's all over North America.
yeah.
Now they want to occupy the Vatican and other stuff. But it's interesting. There's been some talk in the conspiracy circles about
Yeah.
how somebody is behind. You know, right now there's no leadership, right?
Right.
There's no leaders or no leadership, formal leadership
Yeah.
of this movement. People talk about, well, where does this all come from? What's behind it? Some people will say, oh, well, somebody, I think it was Adbusters magazine,
Yeah.
registered the Occupy Wall Street
Yeah.
URL back in the spring
Yeah.
or something like that. And since you study this and how these
Yeah.
movements form, what's your take on it? Is it
Yeah.
a conspiracy? Is Adbusters behind it? What's going on?
So this idea that it's some kind of conspiracy and there's a puppet master telling me what to say right now and telling thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people all around the world what to say and what to do is kind of ridiculous. Adbusters did put out the initial call for this Occupy Wall Street. That call was then shouted out by thousands of people online. Different organizations and movements grabbed onto that and called out to their networks. And so I've watched the Occupy Wall Street movement grow out of already existing groups and networks around the world, whether it's political groups or social justice groups or other movements. And this is the first time that all of these movements have ever come together in physical space and occupied the same time and place together. And so there's so many different people from so many different backgrounds coming together. And what they have in common is this space that they're trying to occupy, and they're focused primarily around corporate corruption and greed and the merger between corporations and states around the world. Yeah.
I'd like to just say, because I did visit the space, what really struck me was it is an alternative culture. It's a community. There's tents everywhere, blue tents. There's a safe space for women. There's a kitchen. There's a supply store.
A library, a school, media, a food tent that serves thousands of meals that's donated by hundreds of people and organizations all around the city. And they're serving homeless people, people with mental health issues are finding social support and other support that they wouldn't otherwise get living on the streets.
So we're providing solutions to the gaps that the part of the government has created.
It sounds like, there is a sense that, something is wrong with the corporate world, with the banking, with the way the governments seem to be serving the large corporations rather than the people. But without a leadership or one voice, this movement is not speaking with one voice. It seems that the movement is speaking with the voices of everyone who's participating. But how do you move from, protesting and saying we got a problem here to going, here are some solutions, let's implement these today?
And so within the first week of the Occupy Toronto protests, people were criticizing, they're unfocused, they don't have any solutions and all these things. Well, a couple thousand people from different backgrounds just came together and started talking. We're not going to have all the world's solutions overnight. That's what democracy is supposed to be for. People with ideas of how to make the world a better place should have an opportunity to share those ideas with others. And if others agree or think that's a good idea or have something to add to that, then that process needs to be available to everybody so that good ideas can bubble to the surface. People can like them and share them with their friends. And then through that, you won't have specific leaders, but there will be certain ideas that will have weight and that'll carry on and go further.
It seems to me there's a couple of problems, though, big systemic problems with the way we do politics. Because we have a formal political structure that's like built for a horse and buggy days, technological environment, right? And, you get a majority government in there and nobody's doing anything except what they want for 4 years, right? So,
So basically what I'm seeing is a huge structural shift in our society. And this has been happening for the last couple hundred years, where we're moving from small, tightly bounded groups where everybody knows everyone else to massive, far-flung networks. And right now, like with the internet, for example, with social media, previously our media was concentrated like a triangle. And all of our institutions are like a triangle where power and ideas and influence is concentrated at the top and then diffused downwards. And so with the Occupy movement, it's turning into more of a circle where power is diffused through the entire group and where everybody is encouraged and motivated to participate and to exercise their own power. And so the only way that this has been possible is through the internet. And so the Occupy movement started online. And so anybody was able to connect to this open space, this platform, and then contribute and participate their own ideas. And then the amazing thing about the Occupy movement is that it's taking this online, open source, collaborative philosophy and placing it into the physical world. And so the community down at St. James Park is amazing. You have literally thousands of people contributing in so many different ways that it's able to sustain and create this amazing community without any form of centralized leadership or control, where everybody is just taking on responsibility for their own lives and the lives of those people around them and for their own actions.
So it's like an ideal world, right? That's what it's all about, is the community and people contributing to the extent that they're able, and they're, contributing their talents.
Do you think it's sustainable in the long run? I mean, look what happened in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
It was all good until Altamont, and then it went downhill from there.
Yeah. And so how do we make this movement sustainable? How do we carry this energy forward? So right now, all of our institutions are still working under this triangle model. Our schools, our government, our banking sector, our media, our food system, every other system, because we have massive monopolies, corporations that own literally every industry. And so the regular person doesn't really have any meaningful ways of participating. And so I have a plot that I've been scheming on for the past few years, which has just taken on a whole new character in the past couple weeks through my conversations with people at Occupy. And I call it Occupy Gardens for World Peas.
Peas?
Peas.
P-E-A-S?
Yes.
Give peas a chance.
That's all we're saying.
Right.
And so for the last 3 years, I've been working on a network of community gardens in my town of Aurelia with the mission to grow a sustainable and integrated network around the city. And so integrating vegetable gardening and community gardening into local institutions. So getting gardens in at schools, at churches, businesses, rooftops, balconies, parks, engaging the art and cultural communities, our First Nations history and culture, of rebuilding our food system using urban agriculture and growing together. And so I'm working on a proposal that I call Occupy Gardens Toronto, or Occupy Gardens for World Peas, which is a mass mobilization of guerrilla gardeners. Over the next 5 months, we're going to plot out our first major vegetable stand against inequality and corporate greed and corruption. And so come springtime, we're going to march by the thousands down city streets with shovels, seed bombs, tools, plants, catapults with massive balls of dirt and seeds that we're going to launch onto rooftops. And there's an underground network of chicken keepers, and they're going to be there.
I want to keep some chickens.
And so we're going to occupy public gardens all over the city and grow vegetables for free and share with everybody in the community. And we're going to do this en masse, hopefully en masse, in cities all around the world. And this is going to be, hopefully, a means of integrating in within existing institutions, but also creating our own institutions.
Yeah.
And integrating the values and the style of organizing within these groups and building a larger community.
Is this guerrilla? I've seen guerrilla gardening in action.
Yeah.
I've got a school nearby where I go by there, and some guerrilla gardeners came in there and, planted a garden and put a little sign, courtesy of the whatever guerrilla gardeners. Is this like is this? I know it's big in Toronto, but is this in other places?
It happens
as
everywhere
well?
because there's billions of people in this world.
7 billion.
7 billion
just
people
now.
in this world.
It just
and
happened. Just letting people know.
We're rapidly running out of space to grow food, and most people on this planet don't actually own property or have their own space to grow food, but they're hungry, or they just want to grow food, or they want to beautify their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so they just go and they plant wherever they can.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
We'll never run out of food.
Why did you get involved in gardening? There's something about gardening that's really good for the soul. Do you want to just, how did you discover that?
I grew up on a farm near Aurelia. We didn't actually farm anything. We had a big vegetable garden and flower gardens, so it was part of my upbringing growing up. About 3 years ago, I was at a seed exchange in Toronto. I've always been really interested in environmental and social justice issues. So I went to a seed exchange to pick up some seeds for my garden back at the farm. And I was so inspired by hundreds of different urban agriculture, urban farms, and rooftop gardens and community gardens in the city that the next day I decided I wanted to start a community garden. So I started a Facebook group and an email address and wrote a letter to the newspaper without really knowing what I was doing. Within a week, dozens of people were contacting me. Within 2 weeks, we were meeting, about 20 of us in this space. I'd never met these people before. Within 2 months, we were planting our first community garden. And so from that, it snowballed into a whole network of gardens because I started studying social networks at this point. And then this project just kind of threw me into a whole new direction that I wasn't anticipating.
Wow.
And so community gardens and food, I've learned, intersects with pretty much every major issue happening. Because for me, the community garden is the intersecting point between the social system, ecosystem, and solar system, where all major social and environmental issues collide.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great.
I don't know what to say. That's amazing, and the speed at which everything is happening.
That means you're doing something right, or
Yeah.
you're hitting the right
You're-
point, right?
you're on
When it sort of happens on its own.
Well, people are hungry.
Yeah.
And the food that we grow tastes amazing. Like, you can't beat organic food that you just picked, and you have like a fresh pear that you just picked off the tree, and you're like, try this, and people are like, wow, this is the best pear I've ever tasted. So when I came down to school, I brought 2 bushels full of pears and apples from the farm. And I gave them out to hundreds of people around the campus, around the city, and I heard that dozens of times. They're like, wow, this is the best pear I've ever tasted. And it was, probably.
Yeah.
If you consider where our pears are coming from, Africa or South America or around the world, and they're taking days or weeks to get there, and they're not.
Yeah, well, they're picked when they're not even ready, right? And they're supposed to bloom, become mature on the way. And whereas you pick a pear that's ready now, and that's grown with people with such great intentions, that's part of it too. Like the energy. So we all are energy. So people who are, looking after things, and they're caretakers, and they put love into it, and it makes a difference.
Now, Jacob, I also know you're a columnist for the Aurelia newspaper.
Yeah, the Aurelia Packet and Times.
Packet and Times.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you wrote an article, and you got the MP there,
Yeah.
Conservative. What are people in Aurelia voting Conservative for? I don't understand. Not that it's not a great party. It's a fabulous political party. But your MP attacked your column. What was that all about?
For the past several months, I've been writing columns about the state of the world and growing inequality and injustice, and the fact that literally all life and ecosystems are on a cumulative state of decline. And our government and world governments are propping up a corrupt banking system, which works against the best interests of the majority of people on this planet. And real wages are going down, living conditions are rising. I'm in massive debt from school. My parents and my family is in massive debt, and there doesn't seem to be any hope of getting out of that. And so I was critiquing the way in which our leaders and our media have been misrepresenting the Occupy movement in an attempt to shift focus away from the underlying issues, thus discrediting it, delegitimizing it, or denigrating the people involved. And so he responded and misquoted me on a couple occasions, which is understandable because the actual way in which traditional media is structured is people talking at each other and not with each other,
Right.
which is one of the biggest differences here with the Occupy movement, where people can come together and sit down for a long period of time, talk about their different perspectives, and then reach a higher understanding and move forward together. Whereas in this traditional media, you have these people talking at each other, not really listening to what they're saying, and it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so he presented an example of Harper's and our government's leadership on the world stage, which was their Muskoka initiative from the G8 last year, where they pledged a couple $1 billion for maternal and child health. And he listed that something like 9 million children die every year from easily preventable diseases, and this will help to stop 1.5 million of those deaths, as if we don't have enough money or resources or power to prevent all children from dying from easily preventable diseases.
Who's that? Tony? Is it Tony?
This was Harper's leadership,
Oh, okay.
Stephen Harper's leadership.
right.
And so,
No, who's the MP?
my MP is Bruce Stanton. And I've talked to him on several occasions, and he's a very nice guy. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
You talked about banking too.
yeah.
I've heard of communities. Well, there's some church groups that do that already, but communities lending each other, community members lending each other, the funds that they need.
Yeah.
What are your ideas about that?
So in regards to how do we exchange with each other to get what we need, for the community garden project in Aurelia, I never, from the beginning, at the start, I was like, well, we might need some money, and so I asked for donations. I got $250 in donations, and then I was like, well, what do I do with this money? I had to put it into a bank. People wanted to give me checks, and then the bank ate $10 a month, and meanwhile, everything we needed for the garden was already there in our community. We had the land, we had the seeds, the soil, the tools, the experience. It was just a matter of building a community and providing opportunities for people to share that. And so the project is morphed into what I call a resource-based project. And a resource-based economy is something that's promoted by the Zeitgeist movement, which is an active movement within the Occupy movement. And so this project, I ask people to participate and contribute whatever they can. And so people contribute their time, their whatever extra resources, and together we have an abundance of the things we actually need to sustain life.
Wow.
And so I found that it's an even more powerful and meaningful form of exchange compared to just somebody throwing us a $20 bill and thinking that they've contributed.
Yeah. Well, they say, you know, whatever you put into it is what you get out of it, right? So if you put in $20, well, you know, and that's minimal effort for you, that's one thing. But if you contribute like your time and something that you're really, you know, your talents, you're going to feel a lot more fulfilled. So it's even better for everybody.
Yeah. And so having like a local currency, it encourages people to build relationships with each other, to shift their dependence away from these global banking institutions towards local institutions and local structures that they can participate in and have a meaningful say in the way it's run or and how it affects them personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if you build successful community currencies, essentially you can stop using that national currencies, which are part of the global currency, and you can pull the rug out literally from under the global banking establishment and overturn all the powers that be.
Yeah.
Although, don't say that too loud.
Well, the great thing about Occupy Toronto is that they don't really people aren't exchanging money in the community.
Yeah.
People can bring with them whatever they may have in extra. Like, I brought tons of vegetables the first Sunday. We made up a huge stew, and we fed hundreds of people with this stew from the vegetables that we picked at the farm. People are bringing their tents or their cameras or their laptops, and then they're sharing them, and then people have more and access to more when it's opened up to people.
That's great.
It's like paradise on earth.
Well, listen, Jacob, it's been great to have this conversation. Let's give out some contact information, or maybe you have some recommendations. Maybe you want people to come down and visit the
I think
the
we're
Occupy.
actually planning our first meetup to talk about Occupy Gardens on Saturday at around 5 o'clock at St. James Park. I'm not sure on the actual location yet, but they can find that on our Facebook page, which is Occupy Gardens Toronto. And we also have another page for the global occupation, which is Occupy Gardens for World Peace.
Is that Facebook?
That's Facebook too.
Okay.
And so we're encouraging other occupations in other cities around the world to plot their own takeover of public gardens at their city halls or their government buildings and their schools, and to grow world peas.
And I'm just going to say one thing. We had a guy, he's like a day trader. He's was totally involved in the whole financial thing, right?
Yeah.
But what he's saying is that is to get into as an investment. I mean, get involved in local food. He says over the next few years that's going to be a huge thing, because we are going to lose trust in the big farming, industrial farming system. So local food's where it's at.
Yeah, exactly. That's a necessity. I received advice from someone a few years ago too. I said, "What should I invest in?" Multimillionaire. He said, "Food. We need food. We always need food. So let's make it local."
Yeah. Okay. And Jacob, we'd love to have you back anytime if you want to carry on this conversation.
Yeah,
if you know anybody else from Occupy wants to come up and share their thoughts.
For sure.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Jacob Kearey-Moreland from Occupy Gardens, Toronto. And we're going to take a little break. Caine is here. He's actually here in the building. So we're going to come back in a couple of minutes and have a chat with Ty about 2012 and everything else right after this. LiquidLunch.channel.com.
Why did we grow up? Try to write our story. Look at what we lost. Sit here at the fireplace. Dream of what's to come. Love songs we were raised on. They've all let us down. Get
on October 31st, the day that anything can happen. So I ran into someone from another planet in the stairs, and actually he's in this building. How about, would you like, and look at his wonderful costume. Who are you, a Mickey Mouse? Mouse?
Clown head pets dispenser.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's a clown, isn't it? You're a clown. So tell us about your clown business.
Clown business? Well, I'm not actually in the clown business per se.
So how would you describe your business?
My business, well, basically I'm a paralegal.
You get people out of trouble, don't you?
Try to, but currently I'm the one in trouble anyway. My license is under suspension for a little while, but...
You realize you're broadcasting this to the world, but that's okay.
Well, which part of the world?
It's okay. They won't recognize you anyway.
Okay, we weren't clear on what planet this was going to in any case. Yes, so...
So tell us how your clown business helps people.
Hey, people like to laugh once in a while. I mean, there's so many times I meet people when they're having the worst day of their lives. But if they get the idea that the person they're with goes through this kind of thing on a regular basis, well, maybe not dressed like this on television, but there's various sorts of things that they find traumatic. Other people might find routine, run-of-the-mill.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we don't have much time, so
Okay.
you can take this opportunity. Well, we see that you have a great sense of humor, which is always nice to work people with a sense of humor,
Well, yeah, if I didn't
especially
have
when
a
they're
sense of
feeling
humor, I
down
wouldn't
and they're
have any
having
sense at
troubles.
all.
Yeah. So you're here at 600 Bay Street,
Yes,
right? On the third floor.
yes.
Yep.
I'm working for my former employees down there doing all the slave labor these days.
Oh, well, somebody's got to do it.
Oh, yeah.
So would you like to leave your contact information? Or would you like them to come and find you?
Well, they'll come and find me if I do that. I'm really not allowed to at
Okay.
this juncture, but.
So they can come here and then, we can help them find you.
Well,
Or where you're working.
basically, people should know that there's law enforcement in this country that does a lot of things. For a lot of people, the only contact they ever have with the police force is when there's this flashing red light behind them. They're suddenly pulled over, and they find that they're dealing with the law. Don't do it alone, folks. There's people out there that can help you. It's probably to your benefit if you allow them to do so.
Okay, that's great.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. I think we're going to take a little break now.
Okay.
And more liquid lunch later. Stay tuned.
Met you on a Tuesday.
Liquid Lunch. We got Ty Caine here. I was just explaining to Ty about the Bilderbergers, because you were up in King City where the Bilderbergers have had a meeting before. The Bilderbergers are the global illuminoids that get together every year or two to discuss how they're going to screw people next year.
What a wonderful introduction.
Isn't it?
A future where we all get screwed. It's somehow inviting, somehow intriguing.
For some people, it is.
Well, we're going to...
And actually, that's part of the issue that we were talking about. We're here to talk about there are 7 billion people on the planet today, give or take a few.
I thought we were already at 7 billion. That came as a surprise to me. I mean, we're only at 7 billion. I thought to myself, I thought we were already over 7 billion.
We want you to go out and count to make sure and get back to us.
Yeah.
Well,
just
that's
to
a
find
good
out, because
point.
I'm not so totally sure. But
Yeah, how are they sure, whoever they are? How do they know there's 7
United
billion?
Nations Population Council said today is the day, and it is approximate. But the big issue is with so many people on the planet, that scares the hell out of most people, because population is one of the things we've worried about for hundreds of years, along with global warming, along with terrorism, along with all the things that are supposed to destroy us human beings on the planet.
Yeah.
And okay, here's a really cool thing that just intrigued me with leading up to 7 billion people on the planet. In the 1800s, early 1800s, Thomas Malthus went out to survey the whole planet.
Yes.
And he said, the population is growing geometrically. The food supply is only growing arithmetically, which means this is growing too fast. And he came back and he said, human beings on the planet are going to fail. We cannot produce enough food. We're going to eat ourselves out of house and home.
Yeah.
So since 1800, we have believed that human beings are going to fail on this planet. That is our future. As you know, we talked before, it was so much fun. I'm a hypnotherapist, and I take people into the future, into their ideal future, to help them create their ideal future. I do that with individuals, organizations, corporations. And now we need to do that as a world. We need to do that, all of humanity.
See, I think if you took the Bilderbergers into the future hypnotically,
Yeah.
their ideal future would be one where there's only 500 million people on the planet, just like the Georgia Guidestones say.
The Georgia Guidestone?
Yeah, you're not familiar with
about that.
You Canadians don't speak English so well, do you?
the Georgia. I can't believe you
what
don't
are
know
you
about the
talking
Georgia
about?
Guidestones. They're in Georgia.
Oh, well, I kind of guessed that, but the rest of it is. So let me just complete this concept that I started a minute ago, because this is really a very cool thing on today.
Okay.
From 1800 on, we've been told and we believed that the planet is we can't support the people that live on the planet back then. Then, luckily, in the 1950s, Buckminster Fuller came along, who was a genius.
Yeah.
He was such a genius that when Einstein met him, Einstein said to him, "You amaze me." So this guy amazed Einstein. This is an accomplishment. So Buckminster Fuller said, "Wait a minute. It seems kind of ridiculous that we would create this whole planet where we're going to fail." So he went out and resurveyed the whole planet and came back with the determination that we have enough resources on this planet for every person to live like a billionaire.
Yeah.
We can succeed. As a human race, we can succeed abundantly, gloriously on this planet.
Yeah.
The next sentence in the introduction to his book, Critical Path, is like so profound and sad, but we can change it. After he said we can all live like billionaires, back then there were only 4 billion people, and he used to refer to the planet as Spaceship Earth, with everyone being an astronaut, and he called those astronauts, he said there's 4 billion billionaires living on the planet, but 99% of them don't know that, don't even know it's possible. So now we have 7 billion billionaires on the planet, but 99% of them do not know that we literally live in abundance. We have, here's a cool question. If I offered you $1 million cash, stack of bills, would you sell me your eyes?
Ooh, that's a
How about you, Vanessa?
big question. No.
No.
Yeah,
So
that's
how
a good
valuable
point.
are you?
Oh, they say everybody has a price. I don't know. I mean, I value what I see. I value
What if
my
I offered you
eyes.
$1 billion for your eyes? Would you give them up then?
I don't think I would.
No. So how valuable are we, just the being, the body, the person that we are?
I think we're as valuable
Isn't that cool?
as we can be to other people.
Yeah.
Like
Or-
we could be worth, 10 times that price to other people by
That's right.
helping them, right?
Absolutely. Helping. So the help, what I do to help people is help them imagine. You know the old phrase, everything is created twice. First in your imagination and then in the world. If we can't create the image of a world working, What are the chances of creating it in the actual world? And 99% of the people in the world think that we have scarce resources, think that we can't have enough food. We already have enough food. It's been proven. We already have enough food on the planet. Whoops. We already have enough food on the planet to feed everyone. It just doesn't get distributed because we don't have the thought and the creativity to go out and distribute it appropriately.
Yeah.
So what would happen if instead of 99% of the people on the planet not being able to imagine the world working, what if we could turn that around? That's my work, is help people not only imagine that, I help individuals, organizations, help them imagine their own future working first,
Yeah.
and then imagine the world working.
Yeah, and like we could absolutely do that, right? I mean, I don't know what your viewpoint is on this, but I've read, I believe too, that maybe if 10% or even 1% of the population has that realization that we can create whatever we want, that we can make the world work for everybody, then it can grow exponentially because we walk around with this energy and everybody we come in contact to receives that. So it can affect everybody, and so we could all, you know, the 1% today could be 10% in next week. What do you think? What do you say about that?
The coolest part about that is, back in the 50s, again, Roger Bannister was a runner, and he was trying to break the 4-minute mile, and science had proved that you can't do it. It's never going to happen. Luckily, he didn't believe them, so he went out and he broke the 4-minute mile. That's cool. You can achieve things that people say are impossible. But what's cooler than that is that when he did that, within days, people all over the planet started breaking the 4-minute mile, and they didn't know he had done it. We didn't have CNN back then. We didn't have cell phones and instant communication around the planet. But because we do have what Rupert Sheldrake called the morphogenic field, where we're all connected psychically, we're all intuitively connected to each other, because he broke the 4-minute mile. People on the other side of the planet then broke the 4-minute mile themselves. So the idea of the 100 monkeys, or you have to get a certain percentage and then it happens, that's not really proven to be. Actually, the 100 monkey theory was disproven. It's not accurate. But what is proven is that each person is powerful and has an influence. One guy broke the 4-minute mile. People all over the planet who were willing to take that in, who were willing to change, also created that change. So when each one of us, we're way more powerful. Well, it's Halloween today. Happy Halloween.
You should have a Halloween song.
Yeah. And I think this Hugh costume is one of the best you've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last week you looked like Hugh, but I don't know. There was something.
You know, I like it so much, Ty, I don't think I'm going to change it.
No
I'm going to wear this costume every day.
I think that's a good choice. I think there's
they will
something
never
to be
see the
said
real
for
you.
consistency.
Yeah.
So here we are. You know the wonderful quote by Teilhard de Chardin that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So the truth is we're all walking around in this costume that looks like a human being in a reality that we create. Quantum physics proves that we create our own reality. And we think we have to struggle, therefore we do. That's not true. If we got the idea that Bucky Fuller said we can live like billionaires. In fact, I was thinking about that last week. My daughter lives in San Francisco, and she works for Kiva, which is way cool, nonprofit doing microloans all over the planet, doing really good things. So I live in LA, but I have a cell phone. I can pick that up anytime. Call her. She usually doesn't answer because she's like so busy and she's doing her life. But when I do get to talk to her, I get to talk to my daughter miles and miles and miles. 100 years ago, the richest person on the planet, the billionaires of the planet 100 years ago couldn't do what I can do today. We can all do. We already live like billionaires compared to just 100 years ago. We have this kind of communication where we can share ideas all out in the world. We already live such abundant lives, but we don't believe that it's possible for everyone. Therefore, it's not happening for everyone.
Right.
If we change that idea, we literally can win the game of life on Earth, and the world can work for everyone. That's my goal. That's what my work is about. Help people create a life that works for themselves first, and then create a world that works for everyone so that we all win the game, this amazing adventure that we came here as spiritual beings to have this adventure. It's like I often say, would you go to Disneyland to suffer?
I don't think so.
No. Would you come as a spiritual being to this beautiful little blue planet to suffer and struggle? No. But we've convinced ourselves that that's what we're here for. That's nuts.
Yeah.
We're here to have fun.
So how can we unconvince ourselves?
By realizing that good question. Great question, Vanessa. The first step is to imagine the future. Imagine what's possible.
Yeah, and I'd like to forward that message to whoever's listening, and I will definitely keep that in mind, and have people think about their future.
It's
You suggested.
what I found in talking to thousands of people over the last, I've been working with the future for 30 years, full-time practice, 20 years. 97% of the people I talk to, from every walk of life, doesn't matter your station, 97% of them cannot imagine their own life working.
That is very sad.
It's really, that's why I've devoted my life to it. It's the single biggest problem in humanity. If you can't imagine it, what are the chances of creating it? As we say, I grew up in Utah and Montana, and as we say in Montana, 2 chances, slim and none. If you can't imagine it, you're never going to create it. So the biggest, your question is, what's the first thing you can do? On my website, there's a set of worksheets that you can get for free to design your ideal future, and just start imagining it. If you can't imagine it, you can't create it. If you do imagine it, then there really ultimately is no limit to what we can create.
Now, Ty, I got a question for you about that. It sounds great. I mean, we all want that. We want to all be happy, live a better life, and enjoy ourselves. But as we were talking about it before we came on the show, today is the day we hit 7 billion in terms of population. Population growth has been one of the major things that people are concerned about for at least since I came into awareness in this life. Also, we have things like terrorism, which is like it seems like that's a permanent threat to everybody now. And and you mentioned the climate change things. I mean, I think people are still in denial about that, right? And what kind of impact that might have on our lives. And I think people see these things and they go, you know what? How can I plan my life, my ideal future, when I got terrorism, I got the world population, I've got corrupt governments, climate change. All these things are threatening our future health, wealth, happiness, and so forth. So how do you, what would you tell somebody that's so concerned about those things that they can't really wrap their head around what their ideal future is going to look like?
Those are very real issues and really scary. Most people live in fear most of their lives, both in terms of their own future. If they have family, if they have friends, if they have children, and they're in fear of that. Mothers are, I've actually met women, clients, who decided not to have children because they're so frightened of the future, which is why it's so important to change our picture of the future and then literally change our future. 2012, big deal. Not everybody, a lot of people freaked out about it one way or the other. What is it about? Is it the end? The predictions end? Is it the end of the world? Some people believe it is. I don't think so at all. Metaphysically, what it really is about is we're growing up and starting to create our own future instead of the predictions telling you what's happening. Humanity has gone through a childhood stage that's been thousands of years. We've been in our adolescence. And when a child, like with my daughter, when she was born, I could predict, I could look like a psychic and say, your body's going to grow, these things are going to happen. When you become a teenager, you're going to get interested in boys, your life, more body changes are going to happen. I could have looked like a psychic just knowing that childhood and adolescence looks pretty much like this. Humanity has been in its childhood and its adolescence. We're now stepping into our adulthood as empowered human beings that are not just human beings, we're spiritual beings. Quantum physics has now proven the truth from metaphysics that we create our own reality, that we're literally creating the world around us. It's all made of energy, it's all, and it responds to our beliefs.
Yes.
If you change your beliefs, you literally can, I healed myself instantly from a life-threatening illness 26 years ago because I dealt with my beliefs, my issues, the emotions and things that were inside and saved my own life. I've helped clients do that, create new careers, create new relationships. We literally are powerful beings. That quote, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are way more powerful than we think. Spiritual beings are not these little victims that kind of get toyed with some punishing God and try to survive Spiritual beings are powerful. We create reality. We can create the future.
Yeah. So we are the puppeteer.
Exactly. Writer, director, and star of our own movies.
Yeah.
Quantum physics proves that, literally
Yeah.
beyond a shadow of a
But
doubt.
Ty, if this is my own movie, who cast George Bush?
Oh, you were off your stride that day, weren't you?
I really was.
What were you thinking?
Yes. What was I thinking?
What are you thinking?
Excellent question. Perhaps we should track back in your journals and find out what you were thinking. Now, we literally do create by consciously creating. That's what we're learning to do with, like with The Secret and all of those mind technologies and things. Or we allow. Either way, we are responsible for our own movie. Unfortunately, things like political stuff that we don't like that happens to us or to the world around us comes particularly because we believe we're victims. We've been taught, like as I said, I've talked to thousands of people in the last 20 years. Less than 3% can imagine their own life working. What percentage can imagine the world working? Less than 1 part of 1%. So if you believe that life is about struggle, that we are victims, that the universe is a hostile place and it's out to get us, that is exactly what you're going to create in the world around you, in your life, and thus we create politicians with nasty attitudes. We create violence all around us in the world. The alternative would be if everyone on the planet knew that we have enough resources to live like billionaires, what would happen to wars? Where wars are usually fought, people trying to take other people's stuff because they don't think they have enough. People trying to take over other people's territory because they want the oil or they want the resources or they want... What if we knew that we all have enough to share?
Yeah.
The basic human being is loving and good. And that wonderful young man who was here on before talking about the Occupy Wall Street and Occupy Toronto, and human beings getting, I loved what he said. They're getting together, thousands of people getting together. There's no hierarchical organized structure. They get together, and when they do get together, they find ways to cooperate.
Yep.
They help each other. They love. That is the basic nature of human beings.
Yep.
But when you take good human beings and you put them in a game and you say, there's not enough for everyone, if you don't take somebody else's, you're not going to get yours. There's not enough for everyone. It is the single biggest problem in humanity that I see. We believe there's scarcity, and therefore we fight over everything.
Yeah. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute, though.
Great. But does that fit with this costume? Oh, we'll let you do it anyhow. You are horned. It's close enough. It's close enough.
Well, some people, what if people started believing that other people can succeed, so we all intend that each other succeeds?
Yes.
Do you think that would work? Because some people believe, like especially if they have the victim mentality, that they're the victim and everybody else is okay. So what if we imagined that everybody else was okay and we did that for each other? Do you think that could help?
Absolutely, and that comes with looking at the future where the world works for everyone. If you see everyone, particularly for women, guys are more like separate and can do kind of a separation thing more easily. But women, particularly mothers, they're not happy just if their kids are happy. They're not going to be happy until all kids are happy. There is a loving nature in the feminine energy, which has been stamped out of our culture for about the last 5,000 years. But the feminine energy cares about everyone. So absolutely, it comes naturally. But if you're afraid of your own survival and your own family, and then yes, you can hope for other people, but you still can't be happy. If we believed what Buckminster Fuller proved, that we can all live in abundance, if everybody believed that for themselves and for everyone else, we wouldn't have the politicians fighting over territory, land, resources. We wouldn't have individuals fighting over and greedy people in the economic system trying to control more and more. If we realize there are enough resources for everyone, like what they're doing at the Occupy events, they're sharing resources because that is the nature of the true human being.
And that's just an example. It just shows that there's abundance. I mean, it's the ultimate expression of abundance. They have everything they need. You know, they say, well, okay, we need this, and people bring it. You know, we need blankets, people bring the blankets. That just shows, you know, sometimes when I'm feeling down, I just go for a walk around, And people are throwing out, all kinds of things that, briefcases, and, like furniture and, bookcases and beds. And, well, obviously it's abundant. Otherwise, they wouldn't be putting it on the side of the road.
And if we did share, if we really did share, coming from a place of scarcity, you're not going to want to share because you don't even have enough for yourself. And so then the whole idea of scarcity is programmed into us, and it's a lie. It's not true. Oh, one of the other the cool things that Buckminster Fuller said, we all think there's an energy shortage, right? And so we're like fighting over oil, thinking that there's a limited supply of that, which also is debatable because there's supplies that we don't even know about. There's the generation of oil. We don't even know exactly what's going on in the earth that produces oil. That's debatable. But we're fighting over energy. Bucky said we use less than 1/4,000,000th of 1% of the energy resource that is available to us just from the sun and the energy around us now. And then you go into the energy inside one atom, if you could get it safely, like through cold fusion or through other forms. There is no energy crisis in the universe. There's only a creativity crisis that doesn't allow us to tap the energy that's all around us. If we had an abundant supply of energy, we could produce clean water for everyone on the planet, which is one of the major problems. We could easily then produce food for everyone on the planet. We could easily then provide shelter for everyone on the planet. And the other cool thing that happens is once you provide people with food, shelter, and an ability to survive, they automatically control their own population. The population explodes in uneducated and third world countries where they're trying to produce enough so that the few that survive, they're still replicating themselves. Every society that achieves a level of success starts to moderate its own population naturally. So the success of the planet doesn't come from control or domination. The success of the planet comes from recognizing the abundance, 1/4,000,000th of 1% of the energy. That's all we're using.
Yeah.
If we just learn and open to the ways, and the difference between having abundant energy and not being able to use it is creativity. It's not an energy shortage. Yeah. It's a creativity shortage. And if you have 6,999,000,099 who don't believe we can win the game. Oh, here's an analogy. You go into the locker room before the Super Bowl. There are 33 players in the locker room. Typical football team, about 33 players. You walk in the locker room and say, okay, you're going into the biggest game of your life. This is the World Championship. How many of you who are going to be out there on the field in 10 minutes, you're going to be in the game, how many of you can imagine winning the championship? One guy slowly raises his hand. Are you going to bet on that team?
No.
You're a smart cookie. That is the state of the human race today. About 3%, 1 out of 33, 3% can imagine their own life working. And less than 1%, so it's 1 out of 100, has imagined the world working. It's not a surprise that the world isn't working. That's one of the things I find as a hypnotherapist. When I work with my clients, since I discovered that we literally do create our own reality and understood how that really works, the last 30 years, I've not seen one illness, one accident, one relationship crisis, one business crisis, not seen one that didn't make sense. Not seen one that was an accident. I've seen hundreds, thousands of people who've created illnesses, created car accidents, created relationship crises because they believe that's what they have to have. They believe life is about struggle. They believe love hurts. And they successfully create it time after time. I've also watched them change. Yeah. I help them create a different future. The fastest way to change. Create a future. Yeah. And then let your subconscious reverse engineer so magic,
wow. I like
success
that concept.
starts. Yeah.
That's why they have vision boards, right?
Exactly.
You put up, the pictures, you cut them out or you draw them or whatever. You put it on your vision board and you look at it every day.
Exactly.
You imagine it every day and eventually it just happens like a miracle.
Well, yes, although a lot of people have done vision boards and positive thinking, usually you watch The Secret, do a vision board, do some positive thinking, and about 9 months later you hit the wall and it stops working. Even if you created a parking place and a phone call or something, it stops working.
But why does it stop working?
Because they don't change the belief, they just change their behavior. You do a vision board, but you still believe that we're. Okay. Here's one of my favorite analogies. Virtually all, unless you change the future, virtually all other positive thinking, healing methodologies that I've seen are equivalent to rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. If you believe the ship's going down, if you don't change that future, how effectively are you going to perform, and how well is your vision board going to work? If you believe that the end result is humanity going to hell in a handbasket, you'll try, and you might even have a few good years, but then it's going to crash because you believe the end result is disaster. Unfortunately, most people on the planet believe that. That's why I take people when I do work with individuals or organizations. I did a meditation last week at the 2012 conference at the Convocation Hall that was broadcast out over the internet. I did a meditation to take the entire audience out 5 years into their future, to see their dreams coming true, a life where they live abundantly and joyfully. Took them out to the end of this lifetime where they're 80, 90, 100 years old, healthy, happy, dying gracefully, smoothly, easily, and then going on into the future where love and light go on forever. Took the whole audience.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, you were there.
She was there.
Did you do that meditation?
Yeah, I did.
Did you see your future self?
Yeah, I saw myself. Yeah, I was on a farm.
How did that
garden.
feel?
Oh, it felt great. It was so calming, so peaceful. Because, I mean, it's in nature. Everybody loves nature.
And not only is it in
there.
nature calming and peaceful, but if you're riding on the Titanic, like all the people who do like the positive thinking and just choose to be happy, they're lying. If you're riding on the Titanic, should you be walking around with a smile on your face? No, that's called denial.
They say
If
it's
you're-
better up there.
If you no, but I'm talking about in this, while we're on this planet, while we're in this adventure,
Yeah.
if you're riding on the Titanic, you actually shouldn't be happy. You should be freaking out, saying, which is what the Occupy is saying, we need to change things. They don't even know what to change. What I'd like to offer them is if they all worked on a vision of the future where the world works for everyone. I have 2 websites that I'm just building like this week. One of them is called Imagine a World That Works for Everyone. We need to do that. The other one is called 7billionbillionaires.com. Because we need to remember that we are already wealthy, we are already billionaires. Our eyes alone are worth more than $1 billion. We need to own that, to appreciate that, and then look around at the world that's filled with infinite resources and start supporting each other in creating the world that works for everyone. We can do that.
Yeah.
And the first step is to change the course of the ship. If you're riding on the Titanic, you shouldn't be happy. You shouldn't be having a positive attitude. You should go up to the captain and say, guess what? I'm taking over. I gave up control a while ago. I'm taking back the captain's position in my life. I'm changing the course of the ship to a bright future.
Yes, that's a great thought.
Ty. Okay.
Yes, Hugh.
So, I think I think a lot of people are having issues, or they're having difficulty with this because we are with 7 billion people on the planet now, with nuclear weapons, with terrorism, climate change, and all this kind of stuff. It's like a lot of people are going, at some point, one of these, just pure probability, is going to come knocking on my door.
That sucks, doesn't it?
It does. So it's like
that was clinically speaking, of course. I'm commenting there for you.
Yeah.
It sucks in a clinical way.
I don't understand.
Speaking as a
No
professional
comment.
hypnotherapist in technical terminology, I wanted to use
Right.
there to clarify the issue
Yeah.
for you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And so, in the even 100 years ago, people didn't have those kind of, and with our media environment, we are also aware of it,
Yes.
right? That's
Yeah.
part of it too. Like 100 years ago, you didn't have this awareness.
Yeah,
You
it's
also
wonderful. We
didn't
can scare ourselves faster now.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
We could,
Or
we
what?
could,
Halloween is all
because
about-
all it takes is one crazy guy pressing the wrong button at the wrong
Right,
time, and
right.
it's all over.
Right.
So we
Right.
we have lots to worry about, Ty.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do we get over all that?
What are you worried about, Hugh?
I'm worried about all those things.
All those things.
Terrorism, climate change, economic problems, governments. Shh.
Woo!
Yeah.
And other
And we have the potential now. I said this yesterday in my seminar, which was actually kind of cool. I hadn't thought about it this way. The story that we've been told, the myth that we've been told about creation, Adam and Eve in the garden, And they're just like playing like children. Again, childhood is like really attractive to people who don't want to be responsible. And they're playing, and you can just have fun. And then Eve, being the empowered woman that is the true power that's going to take us to the future that works, she had the courage to step up, and instead of being a little human child playing in a garden, she said, no, I want to step up into a spiritual position of taking on the knowledge of good and evil. And then I'm willing to be a strong enough individual to make choices, to do good or to do evil. And she ate of the apple of knowledge, which was the most courageous thing any human being, any human spiritual being can ever do. And then Eve, in the word evil, women have been punished ever since because she somehow broke our childish trance of we can just play in the garden and be stupid. And it was the most courageous thing ever done in a mythological sense. Take on the knowledge of good and evil and make a choice which you're going to do. We're now, as I said, coming out of our spiritual childhood, which is you just live through life and it happens to you. Our spiritual adolescence, where we have churches that teach us that you have to come to us to be powerful and you have to suffer, and these ridiculous ideas that are promoted through religion. And we're now stepping into 2012 is not the end of the predictions. 2012 is about us creating our own future.
Exactly.
And taking the responsibility to make good choices or bad choices.
So
Humanity is
good
doing
choices.
that. Individuals are doing that. And as we, as individuals, take back that power and make more empowered, loving choices, then humanity will make more empowered, loving choices. And then we can create a world that works and not create a movie where you push the button.
Right. So, like you've talked about a lot of solutions. Earlier it was about the organic gardens, and then you mentioned basically using the energy that we have, like solar, solar
Infinite
power,
energy available to us.
wind power, wave power. Like, so we have lots of options there, right? And being kind towards each other and imagining a beautiful, positive future for ourselves and for other people.
And the key is taking back the responsibility, taking back the power. You want to hear a weird metaphysical answer to your question?
Yeah.
Hugh probably does. The Hugh I know. Yeah. Bottom line is your future is your future.
Uh-huh.
If you want to get blown up,
Yeah.
you can create that future and exit.
Uh-huh.
If you want to stay and have some fun, you can create that future. Each
Mm-hmm.
individual has the choice. Here's the analogy. Two guys living on the beach. One guy's like totally paranoid about all those things, and honestly, in the depth of his heart, believes that he's going out in a big disaster, whether it's an earthquake or a nuclear bomb or whatever. He believes he's going out in a disaster. His neighbor, happy-go-lucky guy, has a hot tub on his deck, enjoys living in life on the beach, and so time moves forward. The earthquake in California, from California, we have them all the time. We had a big one 17 years ago or something like that. The earthquake happens. In this guy's reality, the earthquake shakes, his building falls, he crashes, and as far as he knows, he died in the big one. And he's dead. He's gone. But in this guy's reality, the scientists are now talking about 11 different dimensions of reality that we're operating on all the time. This isn't just a single one-shot movie. We are multidimensional beings, multidimensional spiritual beings. So in a multidimensional reality, each person gets exactly what they want. This guy is still living on the beach. He's still got his hot tub. He's still got his paranoid neighbor. And he's enjoying the sun. Each one gets what they want.
And here's proof, Ty. I'm just going to give you some proof.
Oh, wait.
Not you. I'm going to
so-
give
I'm
everybody.
so ready
about
for
this.
Everybody,
Yeah.
this is the proof of
The
what
proof,
Ty just
the one
said.
and only proof.
Okay.
Proof is that we've been living on this planet now for 65 years with nuclear weapons, and we're all still here.
Yeah.
And we've lived through the Korean War, which could have been the end of everything. We lived
Easily.
through the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
We lived through the Russian invasion of Afghanistan. We lived through 9/11. We lived through Y2K.
Right.
And we're going to live through 2012 next year.
Gloriously. What I said over the weekend, 2012 is not about 2012. 2012 is about 2020 and
Yeah.
what we're going to do there and the future that we can have in the awesome future that we can create. That's what's really going on. And you're right. We've lived through. The one that I like just is like fascinating. Since 9/11, there have been no major terrorist events anywhere in the United States or Canada. There's some attempts. That's almost inconceivable. If you look at I have friends who are in the government and fighting against terrorism, and they're doing some really profound, powerful things, saving our butts in many ways. And the opportunity for terrorism in an open culture, in 2 open countries with relatively open borders and stuff like that, it's almost inconceivable that other negative things are not happening unless you start looking at the mindset that's creating our reality, where we've created many years of no big disastrous terrorist experiences. And what if we really do change our mindset to a bright future and are headed there with everybody approaching that? What would... Oh, okay, here's a question.
Are you ready, Hugh?
I'm ready for the question. Ty, please.
What would the world look like in your imagination
Yeah.
if it worked for everybody? And notice what happens as you think about answering the question.
Yeah.
And then see if you can come up with something, because I've asked thousands of people what their life would look like if it totally worked. And okay, I'll show you the average person. I'll be the average person.
I
You
want
asked me
to
what-
hear Hugh's
Yeah, yeah.
answer.
I want to see Ty's average person.
I want to get to that. I want to get to that question because it's a big one.
Okay.
You play me
Yeah.
and ask me how clear are you about your ideal future? And I'm going to play the average person. I'm going to show you what I've seen 1,000 times and see what you learn about me in the first 1/10 of a second.
Okay.
After you ask that question.
All right, Ty. How
Clear
is your
vision of your ideal
vision
future?
of your ideal future?
What do you know about me already? Did you watch?
We should
Do it
watch
again. Ask me
do
again.
it-
How clear is your vision of your ideal future?
your ideal future?
Okay, now we'll pause, and wait. I got to get in a state. I'm an actor. I'm like a professional, so I got to get in. Okay, I'm the average person. Okay, I'm there now. Now ask me.
Okay. How clear are you about your ideal future?
What do you know about me already?
Not that clear.
Bingo. I've done that 1,000 times, and that is 97% of the population respond that way.
So now let's
this
see
fly is
you.
annoying.
This
Truly.
fly.
Okay, let's
We have to get
accept
him
the
to sign
fly.
a release form,
Okay,
this fly.
Let the fly go away. The fly will now leave us. Thank you, fly.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Okay. So, yeah.
So that's what I found is that 97% of the population react like I do. They don't even have a clear vision of their own future. So like the football team with only one player who can imagine it working, you wouldn't bet on them. Would you bet on the average? No, the average person is headed for a mediocre future because that's what we get programmed for. Then if you ask, well, what would the world look like if it worked? Nobody has a clue. That's the gift that I'd like to offer to the Occupy people. Start working on your vision of the future. You're demanding change, and it's easy to rail against the machine. Demanding change, get rid of the currency, throw the bums out. It's easy to do that, but like that wonderful young man you had speaking here earlier, creating solutions is where the real work begins. So each one of those people, every single one of those people can start working on their vision of their own life working in a future where the world works for everyone. If we all just created that vision, what would it look like if 7 billion people, each one had their own vision of a world that works for everyone? What would the planet look like tomorrow?
I think we'd have giant floating cities, for sure.
So now you answered my question. There's your
saunas
vision
and
of
hot
the ideal
tubs.
future.
Yeah.
So now back to your question. You still have to. You're not getting
I
out
have
of
to
this
answer
one.
it now.
You have
I'm
to
just
answer the question.
Kidding about the floating cities. I know
Okay,
that's
good.
what the zeitgeist people want, the Venus Project. No, my vision is people living a little closer to the land, smaller communities, less large cities, more community-determined governance about what's happening in those communities.
Is that likely?
Yeah.
Toronto is going to disperse, and we're going to take down all the big buildings and spread people out in the land?
I think that, is it likely? Well, I think we are still It's not about the likeliness of it. I think that we
Yeah,
are
exactly. And you can dream, and brainstorming, you dream without reservations.
Plus, there's momentum, and the momentum is not in that direction yet. But I think that at some point it can be. Even things naturally, things that are already happening.
Actually, let me apologize for,
I can
sort
go
of butting in there.
Hi, yeah.
Does that mean that we have to dismantle cities, or does that just mean that people are able to live out on the land, and the ones who want to?
Yeah, we don't have to dismantle it. No, we can just turn. Things can just shift so that the momentum starts to go in the other direction.
Right.
It's already happening. People are moving north. A lot of people are
Yeah.
moving on. A lot of people are talking about creating their own communities, and they are starting it already.
Local food. It's all about local food.
Here's a vision that I asked a guy this question, and he'd actually thought about it years ago at a seminar. We're just sitting out in the lobby after the event, and we started talking about the future. And I said, "So what is your vision?" He said, "My vision is when I'm an old grandfather, one of my grandchildren or great-grandchildren is over at my house, and the television comes on, and they're doing a documentary, and in the documentary about the past, they mention poverty. And my granddaughter, who's sitting there in the room with me, looks over, she's watching the TV, and she looks up and says, 'Grandpa, what's poverty?'"
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that would be good.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Okay, Ty.
Michael Beckwith, the Agape is wonderful. He's a friend, and I see him in LA all the time. And he was up on stage one day, enthused, just excited, just really jazzed. And, he gets on a roll. It's amazing. He's the Energizer Bunny.
We just had somebody from his church here in that very chair.
I met him too.
What was her name that was here from his church?
Oh, she's an actress, right?
Yeah, forget. She's one of the singers.
The singing, the music there is awesome.
Yeah.
So anyhow, Michael's up on the stage, and he just gets on a roll, and he jumps into the future one day, and he says, "Okay, imagine you're in the future," and he's walking through a museum with a grandchild again. They walk through the museum, and they see this display case, and the grandchild goes over and looks, and he looks in there, and they're guns and tanks and weapons of destruction, and the grandchild says, "What's that, Grandpa?" Grandpa looks down and says, "Oh, that's stuff that people used to use to hurt each other way back a long time ago. Yeah, you wouldn't know that because we don't do that anymore." Little images like that. Play with the future. Play with what it would look like to work for everyone. And then we can, we're pretty powerful spiritual beings. If we got 7,700,000,000, and if we got everybody to imagine a world that works. Oh, one other comment that's important. Bucky Fuller also said that he looked at the population. Obviously, the population was growing. He said the planet, if we tap the resources, if we used what's already there, the planet can easily support. He was at 4 billion back in the 50s. 7 billion, 9 billion, 12 billion. The population is not that big a deal if you have unlimited resource, if you tap the energy that's already there. We can actually, as spiritual beings, we didn't come here to fail. We didn't create this beautiful blue ball and this amazing universe to come here and fail. We came here to make it. You don't go to Disneyland to suffer. You go to Disneyland to have a good time. Yeah. This planet is like a Disneyland for spiritual adults to come and love and, like you said, to give, to share, to learn about love. That's why we came here. We can do that and win the game. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, let's win the game.
That'd be cool. Okay, Ty. Thanks. Yeah. It's been great to have you on. Thanks for
it's fun being here in person.
Great to have you in person. So that's awesome. And but the show's over now, so we have to just give out all the contact information. I know you're still in Toronto for another day or two before you head back to LA. Yeah. What do you want to? Let's give people some contact info and tell them what you're up to next if they want to participate.
Yeah. The website that I mentioned, futurevisioning.com is my primary website. And as I said, I work with individuals, couples, organizations, helping them create a bright future. And now working with the 7billionbillionaires.com and imagine a world that works for everyone.com. And those are like brand new. I just stuck a blog on there. I'm going to start developing and grow that to share some more of this information.
Okay, wait. So 7billionbillionaires.com. Is that 7 spelt out or the number 7? Okay.
Both, because it has to be both, or you're going to lose half of the people off this edge.
And what was the other one? Imagine what?
Imagine a world that works for everyone.com.
Okay.
So The thing I suggest is if they go to, I'm going to have on each one of those when I get some materials there, but at futurevisioning.com you can get some worksheets that help you design your ideal future. Write it down, visualize it. Can change your whole life and help you heal diseases, help you create better relationships, help you create a better job. It's the vision of the future. Bottom line principle that has changed my whole life 30 years ago, I learned from Lazarus, is the future creates the present.
What a great thought to finish on.
Okay, Caine, thanks for doing this today.
Thank you, Hugh. Thanks, Vanessa.
Okay.
Very fun.
Thank you.
We are going to wrap up the show now. Vanessa?
Yes, and it has been an interesting show.
Yes, it has indeed. And so we're going to just sign off now. We'll just tell everybody to stay tuned because at 8 o'clock tonight, it's Real Health. It's going to be an original show tonight. Also, Psychic Street Smart's coming on at 7. And we'll be back tomorrow at noon for more Liquid Lunch right here on thatchannel.com. See you then.
The sun is getting old. I need to forget about the portraits we were sold, echoing blackouts, waking on the floor with the chaos of downtown, marching at your door. We're sorry for the things we do, running through a crowded room. Sorry for the things we do.